Well, thank you for making your time to be available to have a chat with me today.
It is always a pleasure, Ryan.
So I'd just like to quickly, well, actually maybe it'd be better if you do it, Pat. I'm interested to know, who is Pat Cody?
I've been thinking long and hard about that most of my life. I talk in metaphors, okay? So when you cut a piece of timber, you see all these little concentric circles. So the really interesting thing is that, I look at my life like that, who I was when I was 20, who I was at 30, who I was at 40. It's been really this evolving picture as I've had a shitload of life experiences. But I thought, okay, what is the truth amongst all those circles? What has been the consistent thing? And I think the first is that, I'm a damn curious individual. And I get interested really easily, if anything, at a drop of a hat, which has its downsides. The other, of course, is that I'm incredibly relationship driven. I derive a lot of meaning out of quality relationships. The other is ultimately I'm a creative being. Yeah. I like aesthetically producing stuff. So I see myself as a creative. Very much ideas. I love a good idea. Fuck it, I love ideas. Playing with ideas around, is that what life is about? Type stuff really gets me up. The other I think is probably two things. I like to think I know how to have fun, and sometimes I think because I'm curious, I suppose sometimes I can be too sensitive. So I suppose those dimensions have existed within different aspects of who I am, and then at the end of the day I've had some really interesting experiences that I think everyone has magical experiences, but I've really enjoyed mine. So
can you start us off from where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Yeah,
and maybe a little bit about some of your journey up until now.
I'll give you a whirlwind tour. My hometown is Taupo. My dad was a sulphur miner. Of course, my mum worked at home, but also was a cleaner. So, I was
a sulphur miner.
Sulphur miner. Yeah, interesting. He'd be good on the podcast because he was an interesting dude. Yeah. The interesting thing is when I was brought up in Taupo, it's the different Taupo that people know now. Right. Like I was brought up there in the 60s, and I remember actually them task sealing the roads. Wow. And people also at the back of my house used to go pig hunting, so it's it's a different place now. It's like the North Island Queenstown, and so I was there for a good my primary and intermediate, and then my parents shipped me off to boarding school. It's not because we were rich. It was probably more because my dad went to St. Pat's Silverstream in Wellington, and I loved it there because even though I had a great childhood, like most families, there was a little bit of dysfunction that I happily escaped as well, and that. And I was at Silverstream for 5 years. Some of the greatest friendships, people I'm still in contact with now. Then quite a pivotal time was I had a mate called Dukes, and he said to me, Dad said, I'm going to line you up a baker's apprenticeship, and Dukes says, come to university and party. And, the trajectory of my life changed with that sentence. I thought, party, yeah, that sounds fun. And so I did a Bachelor of Regional Planning, and only did that because I was good at geography, or goodish, for second year, sixth. And my last year of university, I was lucky enough to meet Nick, and from that, I did town planning for 2 years, and I don't think I was really good at it. Right. And then I went overseas, like most Kiwis did. Yeah. I paid for my university through picking up rubbish and doing forestry work. So, then went overseas. I was a security guard, bar work, just classic, make money, spend it, make money, spend it, you know. And then I came back to New Zealand. But while I was overseas, I just thought, okay, what do I really want to do in my life? And I went through a career planning process, and I just discovered, I want to be a career planner because in essence, it's ideas, you know. While town planning, which I trained in, is all about buildings.
Yes. Yeah.
But career planning is about aspirations and ideas.
Sure.
And for me, that was a good hit. I couldn't get into it straight away, so I did some voluntary work, but then I ended up finally at Careers New Zealand, and I was there for good. During that time, I brought up my family, and I had other experiences, and I've been in the career industry and loved it. You know, it was a perfect fit for who I was, and allowed me to have, you know, a great lifestyle and bring up a family in Whangarei. Yeah, and then the, you know, the interesting thing is happens and is happening now. Careers New Zealand was dissolved by, I think it was Minister Joyce, and then Tertiary Education Commission took it over, and by then I'd been a consultant, a manager. I'd led career teams, and I ended up in a strange thing called knowledge management, which, you know, sounds bloody obscure but fun. And then I took redundancy. I worked on a community project with a local provider, mapping the education to employment space. And then during COVID, where everything just kind of, it was like a black star event, everything collapsed in on itself. I ended up at Work and Income, and currently in the labour market. And I also do, from time to time, I still do my careers work. I see myself as a career practitioner. I think what's important is also during that time I also had a family, and that's probably been one of the best experiences of my life as well. So that's a whirlwind, you know, and as you can see, you know, a different person at different times making different decisions. Yeah. And the really interesting thing is that now in that space of post-kids and being 58, thinking, you know, if it's a rugby game, how do I want to play that? Yeah. So it's sort of like career practitioner, heal thyself. Yeah. You know, hey, you know.
What do they say about the builder's house is never built?
Well, it's very true with career planners. Their career is never solved. You know.
I know you touched on. I know careers is something that you're very passionate about. I mean, clearly we've just heard why, you know, in terms of your story. But I'm actually keen to pick your brain a little bit more around that. What is it about
careers
helping people, I think, as well, that really gets you going?
Oh. It's really interesting because even talking about it gets me quite choked up. And that, you know, you're with a person, they trust you enough to share their life story, and to often be playful enough to actually explore what else could that be. You know, that's to have the privilege of working with another human being around those topics in a safe way, and is you know, gives me a rush. You know, and there is a parallel process because, you know, people tell their stories, and it's that narrative you get caught up in, and it does things for yourself, and it's just special. Careers is in careers work and working with others with the intent of them being more than they can be with them. You know, careers is not saying, oh, you should do this. You know, careers is a far broader topic. It can be around a whole range of things. But one thing I'd like to say about that, they're really interesting around the careers work that I've done, is what I discover is that people have their own answers. They really do have their own answers, but what happens is their life gets filled up of noise. And so sometimes I see my role as being hearing the noise and letting them hear that true song that they want to sing. You know, and it often, that's how it unfolds.
How do you do that?
Oh, you know, I think that part of, it's linking into what I said before, is just being safely curious, and with that, you know, suspending judgment. It's those things around securing empathy. It's providing that feedback. It's allowing that person to have clarity around where are they at. You know, I love this saying, to see yourself clearly is to be liberated. And that's what I think the career planning process is about, is listening enough, understanding enough and reframing enough that the person sees himself in the mirror and thinks and hears that true voice of what they want to do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, there's a lot of theory that goes in behind that. But for me, you know, a crux of that is what it's about. In the belief that people are able, they have their own ideas, it's just providing the right environment for them to grow and to voice stuff, because, you know, I also say that people walk around with suitcases with bricks in them, and sometimes it's giving them the opportunity to unlock those bricks and and feel lighter and actually revisit that stuff where they thought, I want to do that. I think most people have their own answers. Yeah. So, you know, I suppose in some ways the career practitioner is a catalyst in that process. Yeah.
So how do you, I suppose you'd be working with a lot of people in your career, you've worked with countless people. And I'm just thinking of where society is at today in terms of, quite high unemployment rates, and obviously at the moment with all the redundancies in the new government, there's going to be a few more people out of work. How do you motivate somebody that just is really struggling to get back into the whole work ethic and having the motivation? How do you get them to...
It's a really good question, and I think we are at such an interesting time in world history. You know, we've got AI, we've got environmentalism, you know, we've also got countries and global tension, and we've got, you know, it's also considering that we're a very small country in a really big economy. I do believe, I come back to it, people have their own answers, but also I think there's two things that really are important. They're jumping around in my head, and I'll try and get them right. The first is hearing people. It's allowing people to have that cathartic moment of letting their greatest fears, you know, out. You know, and concerns and stuff that haunt them. Because what happens is the way that humans think, and I know I do it myself sometimes, is they're like record players. They play the same tune in their head, and that does them no favours.
Oh yeah, well, our own self-critics.
And so for me, so it's part that, it's part of, as I say, letting go of the brick, and people truly feeling that they're heard and understood, and because the crazy thing, even though there's probably I don't know how many billion people in the world, there's very few people don't feel heard.
Yeah.
And to create moments where people truly feel heard, where they can, you know, they can let the crazy monkeys out of the cage, is really important. The other is it's realising that we've all only got a really small circle of control in that chaos that's unfolding in front of us. But what is that control?
Yeah.
You know, and it's coming back to that, because, you know, one thing I fundamentally believe is that people's energy, when we wake up in the morning, people's energies is critically important. So how do you protect it? How do you honour it? And for me, one strategy, what's absolutely key is know that your energy is sovereign. And put a circle around it. What can I control? The only thing you can control is how you react to those moments, and honour that energy. So it's doing small things that potentially could create momentum in your life. You know, because sometimes it's not about solving the big puzzle. Yeah. Sometimes it can be the smallest thing of, okay, how can I get just a little bit fitter, or how can I just build a different relationship with my partner, because all of those create this fire around what you're about and what you can achieve.
It's almost like a confidence building exercise.
I'd like to call it more of an acknowledgement experience, rather than, because what happens is that we give our energy away to so many things, But you know, at the end of the day, we're human. We only have a certain bank account of energy.
Yeah.
So what am I going to give that away to? Don't give it away to things that you can't control.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, just give it away to things that mean a lot to you, and you know that will make a difference. But the hard thing is that, you know, I'm not a Luddite as well, in that, you know, there's so many people, particularly in our region, Northland, that the financial, so financially tough there that people are living day to day, and that can just suppress people, and it's how do you actually cope with, you know, at the end of the day, having so much financial uncertainty, particularly if you've got a family.
Yeah.
You know, how do you deal with that?
Yeah.
And that's not just, you know, how you deal with that within your circle of control. You know, they're good conversations to have, because they're the real conversations. So I probably haven't answered it, because I think we are living in times where there is so much uncertainty. I don't think anyone could 100% certain say, oh, you know, these are the jobs that are going to exist, and this is how you get there. Yeah. But it's more working with the person's energy. Where are they? What small changes can they make in their lives that could lead to different outcomes in their lives?
Or different perspectives.
Yeah.
Well.
And to give you an example of that, I used to do a lot of work with long-term unemployed in the mid-north, and there are clients that just didn't have anything. But what really got me is how rich their lives were. You know, they were doing small things, like they were very much connected with their environment. They may have been doing hunting, or they may have been involved in their community. Yeah. They were living incredibly rich lives. Yeah. So it's sometimes it's how you poke at the problem. You know, one thing that they did have, that they had more than me, was time to do things that they actually felt passionate about. Yeah. You know, realising that they may not have the flashiest car or have the, you know, but sometimes they had things that I never had. Yeah. You know, so it's...
I guess it's that saying, I mean, what is success? And it's different to every single person.
Yeah, exactly. So it is about that it's more around that question of, with what's in your circle of control, what small things can you do that could lead to big outcomes that you would like.
Yeah.
And,
or that you don't know of yet.
Yeah. And what car, you know, I always look at careers and think, you know, it's a bit like playing cards in Vegas. You know, what cards are you bringing to the table? You know, so careers is very much a strength-based activity. Yeah, which I think is really important.
Definitely, yeah. And I think you have answered it in a roundabout way. And I guess the reason I ask is because I'm thinking of a good mate of mine, actually. He's on a sickness benefit.
Yeah.
And he's been on one for the last maybe 12 years and done different courses on and off again. And I was having a conversation with him the other day, and he said that this case manager was, hounding him a little bit more than usual now around, okay, so what is it that you really want to do now? And he just said, look, actually, I'm happy doing what I'm doing now. You know, I don't want to work. And I guess for me, it's really interesting hearing, and you know, the analogy of what does success mean, or, you know, everyone's totally different in terms of what they would like to do with their lives, but for him, it's almost, I don't know if it's a barrier, if it's a lack of confidence, because he's been out of the job market for so long now. Yeah, I was just interested. You've worked a long time, you know, they've been on benefits, so it's how do you, and I guess the whole politically correct approach of everybody needs to get off benefits and back into jobs, and then encountering people that have long time benefit dependence, and also just the confidence for them to actually get back out there in the job market. I guess that's what I was coming from, like motivating them, or even enabling. I think you've said it already. Enabling to sort of see a new outlook, or trying new things that can open up brand new doors and opportunities for them.
See, in relation to that situation, I differentiate work from employment. Everyone works. You know, employment is where you get paid. Yes. I think having work in your life is actually a good thing, because a fundamental belief is that we don't exist in isolation. So if that person is making some type of contribution in terms of others' lives, whatever that may look like, may it be, mowing a neighbour's lawn, or, just assisting or helping them, or even making them feel better as a person, that's work. Because they're changing their environment. They just may not be getting paid for it. And I think in New Zealand there is so much work that is done freely or on a voluntary basis. Look at all the mothers out there. All the mums that just are bringing human beings into the world, the most important job in the world. How much are they paid? We don't pay them zip, and that's at the future of our society. So I think what's really important is that sometimes we exist in a context of what a good life or what a working life or what employment looks like and should be like and what we should all be obtaining. But sometimes I think you need to sometimes peel that back, because it does you no favours, because in essence you judge yourself by it. But if you take away that judgment and a person is expressing who they are and also helping or supporting others or doing some type of work that adds value to others, I look at them and think, awesome citizen. That's how I look at it. So it's sort of, and when people have that, suddenly they don't feel so stink about themselves. Because they've taken this burden or this cloak of heaviness around what they should be doing, and doing more of actually where their energy is at. And thinking, okay, how can I grow it? How can I do it differently? How can I make more impact? And you don't know where that goes to. It's for me, I really believe that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and I guess it is a very contentious topic too, I believe, sometimes as well, in terms of,
it is.
Especially, if, I suppose, if you're working at MSD, you've got to, you're hearing, I suppose, coming from your place of value and having that long time outlook on that, that would be an interesting thing to walk between a fine line.
Fair point. It can be, because, but first and foremost, the person that I am as a career practitioner and how I see the world. Yes, I work for MSD, and the part of the organisation that I work with is focused on the labour market, and how people can gain access to the pathways in that labour market. So mine is very much about what small things, what training can we put in place for those that are in that place to participate. And I'll do that to the best of my ability. And also it's in the future I still plan to be a career practitioner, but to do other projects too that give people a sense of choice around what the community does provide. Because I love that concept. Because I do think people are able. I do think give them the opportunity, then more often than not they'll take it. But I hear your point. Particularly as I say, we all exist in this broader context where there's this narrative exists around what a good life looks like.
And who's to say what that is?
And what you should have in it. And sometimes it's just stripping it a little bit back and think, okay, where are you with that narrative? Because it shouldn't take your energy. Now come back to that energy. Your energy, what you wake up in the morning with, the energy that you've got is really, really important. How do you grow it? Not suffocate it with stuff you can't control.
Okay, that's a good segue into my next question then. So I guess this is a current day question. We've already talked a little bit about the current government coming in and potential redundancies being made across the board, and that's just at the moment with government agencies, not speaking of everything else as well, but it's a pretty challenging time financially at the moment. I guess, and this is probably going back to maybe a little bit of advice from your own situation, how you dealt with that, but thinking of people that are potentially losing their jobs, and they've been in their job for how many years, and now they come to a point where they've been told, okay, you're finished. You know, what advice do you have for that person?
Oh, you give me the easy one. You know, I'm going to really talk about this broadly and then hopefully drill down and answer it. Is that one way to look at employment is that, you know, in the wage that you're given, is that if you look at that, then that's a sum of your time, competencies and energies, and you get remunerated for that. Yes. So you know, in essence, you get this clump of money in real time, and it's how do you use it? How do you use that for the future? You know, and I think the really interesting thing is even holding it like that. If you were to look at like a sandwich, one of those long sandwiches, you know, what happens is that you've got inflation eating some of your sandwich, of your labour. And then on the other, you've got interest payments that are also eating some of your sandwich. And if you're like me, you're thinking, frig, don't eat my sandwich. Yeah. And then the interesting thing is that what happens when it stops? You know, you've got this situation when you no longer got a sandwich, but you've still got a lifestyle, and you've got inflation eating it, and interest rates depending what assets you own. And so it's how do you deal with that? You know, what I've often said is that with career planning should go hand in hand with financial planning, but unfortunately it doesn't sometimes. Yeah. You know, there's some so.
It's really valid, actually.
Oh, it is. It's totally valid.
Yeah.
You know, and you know how to, because you know. Humanity consumes. You know, I think that's a truth. We consume. Yeah. And in certain environments, we know that we consume too much. We will spend more than we earn. Yeah. And so, you know, it requires a hell of a lot of discipline, you know, around that consumption. So, you know, in an ideal world, and I say ideal because, again, there's some real realities at the moment. It's bloody tough out there. You know, having an emergency fund is a great thing. I've been in that situation. Like, for example, back in, I went through a redundancy. Luckily, I got a redundancy payment, but you know, I also out of the blue I got cancer, and you know, shit happens. And how do you know, one thing that really reinforced through that experience is that having an emergency fund prior to these events coming can be really, really helpful. But what happens if you haven't? Yeah, that's right. That's where you do have state support, but only for a period of time, and a lot would say, well, that's not enough anyway for the lifestyle that I have. So, you know, the thing is that there is going to be people that get caught out. And what choice have they got? The only choices that they have got is if they've got asset payments, they may have to return those assets. They'll have to find ways to live within their means, and that becomes a real struggle, particularly if you've got your biggest house asset, which is your mortgage, and you know there's going to be casualties, but it's part of the current system we live in, which is a credit-based system that allows people to actually often consume a lot more than they actually have. Yes. So in essence, they're stealing from their future selves.
Yeah, I like where you're going with the financial speak as well already. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about that later on. I guess, and I really do like your point about actually that should be done, the financial stuff and the career stuff should be done in tandem. It should be done as early as possible, but you know, it's the way it is.
And just for people who's listening out there, don't think I've always had my shit together. You know, I haven't.
I want to pick your brain on that in terms of how you got to that stage. But I guess, really, I mean, it's going to be an extremely challenging time. I guess for those that do find themselves out of a job, I don't know, what's some words of wisdom for you that you can impart for them?
You know, the first thing is you can't but help feel pissed off, angry, all of those emotions all of those things, just really frustrated about the situation. And if again, taking the energy perspective, is that stuff is like a black star. It'll suck all your energy that you'll ever throw at it. So at some point, you've got to do something cathartic. And what I mean by cathartic is you've got to find a way of releasing some of that. For some people, they'll be made redundant and they'll think, thank goodness I'm out of there, But there's going to be others where the ramifications are huge. Oh, and so, what are the emotions that are generated by that? Some of them may be really unhelpful. So they've got to find ways of actually processing that emotional stuff. That's first mission. Second mission is that we all have, referred to as cards. We all have cards that we can play that can place on the table and play the game of work and employment. It's a stock take around, what strengths do I bring to the table? What personality qualities do I bring to the table? Who's my network, out there? It's doing a stock take around those things and actually realise that you have got strengths, you have got allies, and also a bit of a stock take around the next step, of course, is around what is available there where I can add value. Yes. What are is it part-time, full-time, contract? I might have to make some compromises, particularly in an uncertain labour market. And then that evolves into the equation of, okay, I'm going to focus my energies here, here, and here. Don't go in a scattergun, because that again will take your energy, but actually focus on action that really allows you to concentrate your energies where you feel like you can play your best cards. So that's the process. Process is address the emotions, concerns, or fears, or fundamental beliefs that moment will generate. You've got to get them on the table and process them somehow. We all work towards closure. Then do that personal stock take. Then do the stock take around what is available that maybe I can improve my situation, albeit be a little bit, and then focus on action. And that action could, I think what's critical is that it's also, again, shoring up the other aspects of your life, your mental health. It's also your physical well-being and your relationships, and also always through that whole process, because that can be a long process, that can take months. It's also that process of how can I still have a time or moment where I have interest, or I have fun, or I have joy, or I have gratitude around something, because it's creative. I always, this is a famous book called What Colour's Your Parachute, and it goes, you've got to get through 36 no's to get to a yes. You've got to, the process of new beginnings takes time. So how do you still fuel yourself and realise that you're not your job hunt? Yeah. You're not your work. Yeah. There's other aspects of your life and your family that are really, really important. And also seek out the support that is actually there, that may be baseline, but is still support to help you during that time. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can resonate with that.
Nice. But yeah, shit can happen.
Yeah. Speaking of which.
Yeah?
Cancer.
Yeah.
Can you, if you're happy to.
Yeah,
just talk about your, and I guess where I'm coming from with this question is that I guess it's one of the big sharks out there. And you never know who, when, what, why, and how. What was your experience of cancer? And I guess, how has that shaped your life from that experience?
I'll make you giggle, and I'll be totally transparent. It was such an interesting experience, and you know, for those watching, I got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and fundamentally, one of my testicles swelled up like a golf ball.
Right.
And the funny thing about it is that so if it wasn't isolated, yeah, it would have killed me.
Wow.
So it's sort of the interesting thing about it, and you know, I took that pretty seriously because I found out through a phone call when I was at work, and someone piped up saying, "Oh, Pat, how did those tests go?" And I just lost it, you know. I lost it in the office. But the funny thing is that, you know, you could look at it and think, oh, Jesus, that's pretty serious. But what broke for me the witty side of it is of course, I started having operations. And the first one, taking my testicle out, was on April Fool's Day. And I find that incredibly funny. You know,
Laughing with you just very good, okay?
you know,
I just didn't realise that. Wait, can I just go back a second?
yeah.
What? Because I think it's really important, especially for any males potentially watching this.
Yeah.
What made you go and get tested? Was it just a generic?
Oh, look, mate, it's looking when you're looking down in the business, thinking, hey,
Okay, yeah. So you did, yeah.
I've got too much veg and not enough sausage. Yeah. Hopefully there's enough graphic for you.
Continue. That was like April Fool's.
Yeah, it was funny as hell, but you know, and I suppose, you know, that's part of who I am. You know, it's life will give you lemons.
Yeah.
You know, it bloody does.
Yeah.
And so where's the lemonade? And that's in those light. You know, I've always tried to find something funny with most things. You know. I thought that was a bit cruel. I should have written to the bloody health minister and said, "What the you know, you can't do that." Yeah.
Wow.
I was wondering why all the nurses were smiling. Yeah.
So, as a result of that, then, what has that done in terms of your maybe I'm interested to hear your long-term outlook on life in general from that experience.
What it does is, well, first off, you know, just people to have an appreciation. I probably went through 9 months of treatment, and you know, that was chemo and radiation, and down in Auckland, and it was over COVID, so it was a strange time anyway in New Zealand, and you know, one thing it does is that, you know, just to share that experience, is that, you know, I was in wards where basically all my roomies were dying.
Wow.
You know, and so you're hearing those end-of-life conversations. So ultimately what that does is, of course it impacts, you know. What it does is it absolutely sharpens your focus on where am I? You know, where am I going? And also, for me personally, it's increased my gratitude. You know, I'm incredibly grateful of so many things. You know, it's sort of, I feel like in some ways I've survived. Because you know, unfortunately, when you're in those environments, man, there's some brutality in those wards of people that are in really, you know, life-ending stages. You know. So there's lessons there, and you know, you can't put it into words, but you do come out thinking, you kind of realise that, you know, we all have an egg timer, around how long we're here for, and so it's how do you actually make that the time that you got really count. Yeah, and so it has brought life goals into sharper focus. You know, I've just come back from a cycle trip. Jeepers, the glory of, you know, today even I climbed Parihaka, and to be walking in the hills it's just like it's like a drug. Wow. You know, it's just like, fuck, this is cool. You know, so you know, and that's cool. It's cool when small things give you joy, you know, and lots of small things give me a lot of joy. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, because I do believe, and this is part of who I am, is that, you know, I believe nature has all the answers. You know, I like spending time near the sea, near the beach, near all, you know, what a lot of Northlanders like. You know, it's gives great, and it's realising, you know, the other is that I'm far more comfortable with death now too. You know, because I've had a bit of a look at it.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit. You know, I was still a way off from experiencing that.
Close enough.
Yeah. Enough to find the reverse gear and think, fucking hell, get me out of here. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I guess that's something for me personally. It's hearing your experience, and you know, even there's times where I'm thinking, crap, is it cancer? You know, are things going wrong with me? And you just don't know. And I guess it is really, really interesting to hear your perspective on that and how that has shaped you.
Yeah, you do a lot of things. You sort of, you kind of scrape away at, you know, what's the messages that we get from society, and also you scrape away at, you know, how the health system operates. You scrape away at, I like to think I'm a little bit better with what I eat now.
Right.
You know, because, you know, again, you know, no one truly knows, you know, why they get such things. But, you know, I do attribute some of that to possibly lifestyle, you know, so it's sort of, you know, how can I, it's hard to stop the Labrador from feeding though, I tell you. Hey, he does love muffins.
Sorry.
Yeah. Grapes would have been fine.
No, for next time. Okay, we'll switch topics then.
That's
another thing I'm quite interested to pick your brain about, which is something I know you and your wife have gotten to more recently, and terms of life changing, in terms of newfound appreciation or perspective. Your financial habits. Can you just talk to us a little bit about, I guess, firstly, what made you interested in taking a different look at the way you do your finances, and just your journey to date?
Yeah, it's funny. I have been on another podcast around this topic, so I can easily talk about it. It's a combination of things, you know. As middle income New Zealand, you know, we had 3 kids and a mortgage, and you know, all the paraphernalia that a lot of other people have got. We had no money to put aside. We couldn't save anything. You know, because coming back to the nibbling interest rates and the nibbling inflation on your wages over time, it just, if it just goes. And so, you know, as our young people started to leave, then we started to discover that, you know, we just had a little bit more coin, and so, you know, what were we going to do with that? But the interesting thing is that because we were always, I don't want to say frugal, because we are reasonably frugal. You know, look, I haven't had a haircut, paid for a haircut in about 28 years. And people look at me and say, yeah, I can tell. But, you know, that man hasn't gone to a hairdresser in ages.
That's why we're
Yeah. But, you know, the thing is that we had a really, really simple life, because all the money that we had went on paying the mortgage. And luckily we paid the mortgage off probably a little bit earlier than most. And then, you know, it also collided with, of course, cancer. And so, you know, and then it also collided with, oh my gosh, I'm 50 and I haven't got anything for retirement. And it's like a getting slapped, you know. So,
but long slap,
cold slap, and so what that did is that what we were lucky in that we lived a frugal life, and now that we noticed increases in our wages, it's how do we best use that, and so it's fair to say, you know, post 50, we really started to crank things up in a range of ways. You know, with KiwiSaver, with our whare that we've got, we're lucky to, have a border that pays for a little bit. We save a hell of a lot more than we ever have, and I do have an interest in alternative assets.
Yes.
Like Bitcoin.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about that then?
It's the interesting thing is I'm quite comfortable talking about. I haven't got a whole heap in it, but I'm really, really interested in what it is because
Bitcoin
in particular. Yeah. And some people think, you're only in it to save money. But I'm not. For me, it's a social movement as much as a monetary movement. Yeah. I'm really. It's what it's done is made me look at our current financial system, and I don't think New Zealanders, first off, talk about money, and secondly, talk about how the system allocates money. Yes. Or the current system of why do we have inflation, and why do we have interest rates, and what does that actually do for my working life? Yeah. I don't think many New Zealanders even scrape the surface on it. Because if they did, I don't think they'd like it. Yeah. And so here you've got an alternative asset that is peer-to-peer, but it's also a global asset. In essence, what you're buying is a part of a digital ledger that is peer-to-peer. I can send money to the UK. And yes, it costs money, but very little. And I think the interesting thing is that that's fine for me. I live in a developed country, but these people and third world developing countries where their whole asset base is getting chewed up by inflation. I think at the moment, the inflation rate in New Zealand is about 4.7%. So if people can think, they pull up a calculator, see what that does to their money over time. It's eating their sandwich. Yeah. And if they've got interest, if they're paying money, and some are on 8%, have a guess. That's nearly over 10%, 12% that's getting chewed, taken away, which is their labour and time. And when you start looking at it like that, you just think, okay, so what is this? Unfortunately, cryptocurrency has people first off think it's fairy dust, or they think it's been manipulated by the markets, and there's a truth in that. But for some, and particularly in third world, it's an absolute lifeline because they can't actually take their money away from their country if they ever decided to move. Yeah. So I'm interested in that social stuff. I'm interested in, isn't it cool that the money that I own is my money and it's peer-to-peer? Yes. Yeah. I love that concept. Yeah. That for me is because why do I need a third entity like a bank to work with when I can actually go to another Bitcoin or I can buy something off them, and swap it out.
Why did you get into Bitcoin in particular? What was it about? I'm really interested to hear.
Well, I think the interesting thing is if you look at the crypto market, and this is one of the people poke fun at it, is that it's Bitcoin itself is it's open source. So if you look at the crypto market, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of altcoins. Yes. So people think, well, if there's thousands, how can one coin have value? Yes. Yeah. So. The type of personality, that I have is that I was probably interested in the least risk within that. But it's actually realising that maybe I'm a bit of a purist, but Bitcoin is different from the other coins in that it's proof of work, and that's a technical comment that people think, well, what's proof of work? But the others are proved other ways that are less energy. Right. So for me, it was the biggest fish in the pond, the safest fish in the pond. At the moment, I think Bitcoin is 52% of the crypto market. So if that's going to die, everything else is going to probably. But but also Bitcoin has got some other features. It's the most diversified of the networks. It's got the other thing that about people not knowing about the financial system is that it's a credit-based system. The government and the banks, they will print money into that system, and it's not underpinned by any other value.
Yeah.
So it's a belief system people believe in.
Yeah.
With the crypto market, there's only 21 million Bitcoin, so it's a fixed ledger. You can't print anymore. It's made trust a technology. Technology, yeah. So it's fundamentally different, and as I say, what I want to emphasise is if people hear this, don't go all into crypto. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's a small component of what I invest in, but what I'm interested in, because it's technology, it's how society can be different.
Yeah. You mentioned social movement.
Yeah. And I'm particularly interested in that, and I'm definitely not going to, you're not. No one in Whangarei is going to see me with a gold medallion and a yacht. Maybe a toupee, a comb over. I might do a comb over.
Okay, well, just on that, I mean, has it been a worthwhile investment for you?
It has. Yep, but it's because I haven't. I bought it at a certain stage, and I've just sat and watched it go up and down, up and down, up and down, but ultimately over time it's gone up because that's what it does.
Yeah.
To give people an appreciation is that, I think it was in 2018, its high was $20,000, and then it fell like a stone down to $3,000. And then, but where is it now? It's, I don't know, the market's crashed, funny enough, two days, so thanks, Ryan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's sitting on around 61K.
Okay. So now might be a good time to look at getting into
Well,
that.
no. Again, I think what people say, and I think it's good wisdom, is only put into it what you're prepared to lose. And I think,
Yeah.
It's
quite solid financial advice there.
Yeah. I want to emphasise that, and I'm not. It's in life. New Zealanders are traditionally property people. Fundamentally.
You own it. You can see it. You can feel it.
Yeah. I'm not that person. I'm more interested in things that tie up in companies like shares and also crypto. But I know people that they know whiskey really well. And there's people who invest in whiskey or art or whatever. It's whatever takes you. The main thing is check out and make sure it's an asset, because I come back to that very point that we spend our lives ideally having enough money to feed our families, but we also need to save for our future selves. Whatever we save for our future selves, try and put at least some of it into some type of asset that protects that. Because you're saving for your future selves. Find something that you're into that does it. It could be anything. But diversify it as well. Don't just bet on black and bet on 13. I'm a great believer in diversification. No. But don't have too many eggs, but just enough eggs to know what you're doing, and that they work in accord with each other, because they all rise and fall at different times. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Is it moderation in all things? I don't know. But I suppose one thing I want to separate is that I was saying to Nick. Is the world could go to hell in a high cart today, as long as I get. For me, maintaining and holding on to a sense of wonder is really important. Like for example, climbing Parihaka, looking out at the trees, looking at the glory, looking at small things and thinking, frig, I'm never disappointed.
Yeah.
I'm never disappointed. They can take everything away from me, but I can still experience the moment and joy. It's and which is not a bad place to be, eh?
Why do you think? I wanted to talk to you today about art, and you're a creative person, and I think for the viewers knowing that it's something that's really, well, from me knowing you, that's something that's really important to you and integral to you. And just that comment alone, that statement of looking at the world with a sense of wonder. I mean, for me, I can resonate with that as a creative person myself. Probably, I'm thinking it was a bit of a big kid as well, and never wanting to grow up and seeing the world as optimistically like that. I mean, being a creative to you, what does that mean to you? What has been your story with art and what I'm just looking at you've written, instead of writing down notes like a normal person, Pat, you've done a bunch of scribbles and lines and circles. It's almost turning into an art piece itself. So what is up with you and art, really? What's your story with art?
The interesting thing is, because art at the end of the day is communication, is an aspect of communication.
Yeah.
And probably very few people know that I'm dyslexic.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is I'm not hugely, but I write sentences, and or people repeat numbers to me, and they just fucking end up all over in my head, and so I've really, the interesting thing from that though is I often beat myself up around that, because again we think we should be able to do this, that, and the other, but the other gift that I have that I've never really overly acknowledged is my ability to actually bring ideas together in a visual way.
Yeah.
Where I can create a synergy with big ideas and visually portray them. I've never seen that as a superpower. It's only as I've got older that I think actually that's quite a rare talent. And for me that's what art. It's inherently where I go, and probably the readers, I'll just hold it up. That's how my mind works. It thinks in circles, it thinks in connections, it thinks in one-off words. It doesn't thrive in sentences, and history of artists in the family. I've had an auntie that was a professional artist in Wellington, and I was the guy at the back of the class who carved his name and signs and messages into the desk. I was that guy who probably thought, well, this fellow isn't listening. Yeah. But he is. But
translating it.
And from then, I've done, I'm an avid mind mapper, and then I got into dot art, and then drawing, and it's the interesting thing is, and I'm still waiting for it to come back. I haven't really drawn or done any art post cancer.
Oh.
It's really, I think I'm hoping it's the last thing to come back. Yeah. It just, I don't know why. I think what I'm really keen on is when I have, I have started to, but it's really different stuff than what I did prior to cancer. So it's sort of, I don't know if you saw the I'll let you take a picture of the entrance to my thing where I draw pictures in sand and create montages that way. Quite different stuff. So I'm hoping through my frugality and my finances to create more time, because for me, I'm not into money to have things. All I want is for money to give me time. The simplicity of time, the time to actually, because the creative process is a slow process. It's a fail lots process. until you produce something that you just think, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm proud enough for someone else to see
Yeah. And but you need time to, and when you do 9 to 5 and 5 days and the lawn still needs mowing, but I think sometimes it's an excuse, because sometimes I catch myself getting robbed by time, by social media, all that sort of shit. I need.
You're alone there.
Oh, that's the latest addiction.
No, it is.
Yeah. It takes your energy, and it's nearly to a point where you just think, oh, I'll just watch one more.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
So I'm hoping to do more of that sort of stuff in the future, because art is one of those things where you're given an opportunity to express something that is unique for you in a manner that hasn't been experienced. So it's that humans have been doing for art like that for ages, and that's what I like about. We live in such a technology-based world. Is that art has the potential for freedom. It has that ability to do things that haven't been done before, or just the expression of, hey, frig, I'm alive. And it leaves a legacy too. And really cool thing is for some it may resonate. It's which is really, really cool. And it's incredibly relaxing. And the and the incredible thing is and you'll relate to this too, is that we operate in such a time schedule-based world.
Yes.
When I'm in art mode, time doesn't exist.
Goes out the window.
Yeah, and my mind doesn't exist. It goes into this meditative, exploratory sort of space that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want a bit of that magic?
Yeah.
Hey.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So how do you find, I guess, being a creative person? How has that inspired and shaped your life as well? I mean, because I feel like it does. As a creative, we gravitate to each other, and I think you do kind of. Your head works a little bit differently than most people, because you, like you said before, your sense of the world comes from a completely different lens at times. So how has that shaped you in terms of your career pathways, your family? Just I'm interested to hear that.
The thing is that you're totally right, and I think if there's one regret is that I've never ever backed that skill. I've got my oldest son who has creative leanings as well. Now, what I'm really rapt about is they're doing creative stuff. And I just think all power. They're backing. They're backing it. Where will it lead? Who knows?
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, they're creating this opportunity to at least express. And I think that's really just the coolest. And so how does it shape me is that, and you'll relate to this too, is that sometimes creatives, over a long period of time, all they do is conform. And that's to where the money is, and how they can, and we all have to conform, we all have to make compromises, but it's to what extent, and sometimes I'm looking forward to the time where I can just go wild with that shit, and truly just be that raw. I think that'd be a good way to round off life, to be honest.
Yeah, keep that fire going.
And well, just hear what is that person? I talked about those circles of different places. Is that the last part of me that is that pure creative? Yeah. What is that? When I think of that, it's like because then it makes me question. Okay, so how much more are you going to
take until you get to that place?
Yeah. How much
your true sense of self?
Yeah. And I like that saying where you don't want to to die with any music in you. You know, you just want, you want to be just that empty vessel that has expressed who you are. You know,
left your mark and
and may it be good, bad, or ugly, or kept in the bottom drawer. You know, who gives a shit? Hey, it's done. You've had your shot of expression.
I like that.
Yeah, you know, and there is that regret that, because you're ultimately, you know, I look at my life and think, you know, I've had to conform to writing, or to, you know, to doing stuff that is not the pure light. You know, it's a. But then, hey.
Got to pay the bills somehow, I suppose.
Hey,
The double-edged sword.
Can't eat my dot pictures.
No, that's right, exactly. Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, you know, who knows where it could end up.
Oh, and I've already got ideas. For me, it's you know, I would like to get back in doing that sort of stuff, but different stuff again. You know, I'd be interested in doing art that has a political angle to it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, well, final question, Pat.
Luxon better watch out. Eh?
You're coming for a job next day.
Yeah, I'm gunning for you.
Okay, well, with that, what are you optimistic about in society today, in the world we're going to? What are some of the, I know there's a lot of uncertainties around, and I know that financially, you know, yeah, the world can seem at sometimes that hope is lost, you know. So I'm interested in your take on what are you hopeful of? What are you optimistic about?
The thing is that, you know, with the world, I think that the challenge is that the world now and globally is so opaque. You know, through media, through technology, we have this ability to see everything that's under, and some of it's incredibly perverse. And that's, you know, again, takes your energy. You can start thinking the world's a sick place. But the crazy thing is that I just reach out to my friends, and, you know, when we catch up for a coffee, I just get full of joy. Yeah. You know, there's so many good people out there. Yeah. You know, there's so many rich things. There's the nature out there is still, you know, still really, really cool and worth fighting for. You know, the people out there and the young people. You know, there's some, you know, I meet some really talented 25, 30-year-olds that have got these skills that you just go, wah, 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 wah. You know, that makes me feel really quite hugely optimistic, you know. So I suppose what I'm saying is, if you get rid of some of that opaqueness and focus on what is within your circle, you know, relationships, the quality of your relationships is within your circle, your physical well-being's within your circle, it's within your influence. You know, there's all these things that are, you know, what you can read, what inspires you, you know, is keep it there and surround yourself with that, and you can only but be optimistic. You know, yeah, you know, I know there's a huge amount of turbulence and conflict and chaoticness in people's lives and over the world, and but in saying that, it's always been there in different guises. It always has. Yeah. You know, but what is the difference then is that we have this technology now that gives us front seats. It's our choice if we choose those front seats.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's I choose not to go to the picture theatre sometimes. Yeah. You know,
the front row can be a little bit too much.
Yeah. Especially if you've got a hot coffee.
That's right. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I know I said that was the last question, but I do actually want to ask you one more.
No, keep going.
At the very beginning of this conversation, you sort of made a comment, you know, in terms of what's next. What is next for you, Pat?
Oh, look, you know, I haven't formulated it totally, but what I would like is if I was to say my utopian, because I have been thinking about it a lot, is that having the ability to leave full-time work in the next 2 or 3 years would be a fantastic thing. You know, I'm 58. I'll always work. I'll always be employed. What I'm really interested in, and when that happens, am I going to go travelling? Am I going to go on a cruise? Am I going to... No, I would probably love to do some of the work that I do now in careers and in the community, but do it for free. Wow. You know, and that's purely why, because I think sometimes money that funds certain community projects compromises those projects. You know, I'm really interested in stuff that is just purely driven out of passion and interest and purely the desire to make a contribution and serve others. You know, that's the payment. Yeah. You know, and to do that type of mahi, you know, would, as well as my creative self, as well as connect with nature, as well as being, you know, in partnership with my wife, who's just awesome. You know, for me, if I play the game out like that, boom, really happy. And the odd hot scone, the odd coffee, and in between. You know, that's how I want to play the game. And if I can do that, then that's just an excellent life. Yeah.
Well said.
Does it put a full stop on that?
I think it does.
Awesome.
Thanks, Pat. And again, just really do appreciate it.
Yeah, mate. No, and good. And I hope those that are listening to it, hopefully they gain some value.
I'm sure they will.
And if they want to yarn, reach out.
Awesome.
You know, I'm always up for it.
Awesome. All right. Cheers, Pat.
Nice.
All right, then. We'll move it there.